my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am giving you my July TBR. Now I want to give a disclaimer that if you hear any animal sounds, etc., you know the drill. That is the animals in my house. If you don't know the drill and you're new here, I live in a zoo and I don't have any control over the animals. Second disclaimer, a little bit of a different one today. If my bookshelves look a little bit messy, it is because I am in the process of packing up some of my books to get ready to move in a few months. I just feel like it's easier if I go ahead and start packing, even though I don't have we haven't signed on a house or anything just yet, but it's easier if I'm just already starting the process of packing. So if this looks messy or it starts to get messy throughout the next few videos, that is why. Now then, for my TBR for July. I do have a few books that are physical copies and also rereads. I also have a couple of books that I didn't actually include on this list, but that's okay because I have the physical copies with me so I can go over them then. So, what am I reading this month? I'm going to start with the books that are new or a series that is continuing. And that is starting with Warcross by Marie Lu. I really like Marie Lu's writing. I will say that she has said some not so smart things sometimes on the internet, but I really wanted to read a little bit more of her writing just because I do like the worlds that she creates. So the summary for this book is: for the millions who log in every day, Warcross isn't just a game, it's a life. The obsession started 10 years ago and its fan base now spans the globe, some eager to escape from reality and others hoping to make a profit. Struggling to make ends meet, teenage hacker Emika Chen works as a bounty hunter, tracking down players who bet on the game illegally. She needs to make some quick cash, so she takes a risk and hacks into the opening game of the International Warcross Championships, only to accidentally glitch herself into the action and become an overnight sensation. Emika is convinced she's going to be arrested, and then is shocked when instead she gets a call from the game creator, Hideo Tanaka, and he has an irresistible offer. He needs to spy on the inside of this year's tournament in order to uncover a security problem, and he wants Emika for the job because we love hiring teenagers to do work. With no time to lose, Emika is whisked off to Tokyo and thrust into a world of fame and fortune that she's only dreamed of. But soon her investigation uncovers a sinister plot with major consequences for the entire Warcross empire. So this is a series, like I said, it is a new series that I'm starting, so I'm excited to continue to read it, or to start reading it, because it is a completed series, I believe, so I will actually get to like start it and finish it and not wait for more books and be happy with that. And then we have A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. This is a book that I got, I think it was one of the last ones that I got with my Lumicrate book subscription right before I canceled it. I was like, great, another fantasy romance that's straight. That's not something I want at all. So it is beautiful. I just don't have very high expectations just because fantasy romance has to be pretty incredible for me to like it. Jack Tarmalane hasn't stepped foot on Cadence in 10 long years, content to study music at the mainland university, but when young girls start disappearing from the Isle, Jack is summoned home to help find them. The capricious spirits that rule the Isle by fire, water, earth, and wind, I don't know why it just didn't say by the elements, but anyway, find mirth in the lives of the humans who call the land home. Adara, heiress of the East and Jack's childhood enemy, knows the spirits only answer to a bard's music, and she hopes Jack can draw them forth by song, enticing them to return the missing girls. As Jack and Adara work together, they find they make better allies than rivals as their partnership turns into something more. But with each passing song, it becomes apparent the trouble with the spirits is far more sinister than they first expected, and an older, darker secret about Cadence lurks beneath the surface, threatening to undo them all. I do love me a rivals to lovers situation, not necessarily always an enemies to lovers, but rivals to lovers is like its own flavor and genre of romantic trope, so I'm kind of interested in seeing how this goes. That gives me a little bit of hope, but that trope can be played out in ways that I don't like, so we'll see what happens. Then we have A Mirror Mended by Alex E. Harrow. I will be listening to this book, so I do not have a physical copy, even though I have the first book in this set of novellas by Alex, which is A Spindle Splintered. A Mirror Mended, if you guys don't know, this series is I want to say Twisted Tales, but that's definitely Disney. I don't know. Anyway, they're retellings of a story. Zinnia Gray, professional fairy tale fixer and lapsed sleeping beauty, which is about what this book is about. I'm putting this away. This isn't the book that I'm talking about. Sorry. and Lap's Sleeping Beauty is over rescuing snoring princesses. Once you've rescued a dozen damsels and burned 50 spindles, once you've gotten drunk with 20 good fairies and made out with one too many members of the royal family, you start to wish some of these girls would just get a grip and try solving their own narrative issues. Just when Zinnia is beginning to think she can't handle one more princess, she glances into a mirror and sees another face looking back at her. The shockingly gorgeous face of Evil, asking for her help. Because there's more than one person trapped in a story they didn't choose. Snow White's evil queen has found out how her story ends, and she's desperate for a better ending. She wants Zinnia to help her before it's too late for everyone. Will Zinnia accept the queen's poisonous request and save them both from the hot iron shoes that wait for them, or will she try another path? Like I said, I liked the first book, and I'll probably reread it just for a refresher, as well as the fact that it's incredibly short, and I'm interested to see what this next one is. This is a reread, and the next book is a reread, and it was absolutely on my TBR last month, so there's that. I will be reading again Seasonal Fears by Seanan McGuire. If you remember from last month's TBR, I was very nervous about this because I was afraid that the sequel would be disappointing. 50% into it, I whined to my husband about how I really wanted a physical copy, and he bought me the physical copy. Thank you. So that is how much I have enjoyed this book. What I'm doing right now with these specific books from Seanan McGuire, the specific series, including the middle grades, is that I am defacing them in a way that makes them still readable but very cool to me. Because I've read Middle Game so many times, I wanted to do this with the rest of the books in the series and with my copy of Middle Game. I will show my copy of Middle Game during my wrap-up video, which should be coming out, I believe, next week. And you'll be able to see what I mean by defacing the books, but I plan on doing that with this one and then the next couple of books that I'm going to be talking about. But Seasonal Fears is about Melanie and Harry. Melanie and Harry are childhood lovers? That's a weird... love at first sight. They've been in love since they were children, but it turns out that Melanie was created by alchemists just like Roger and Dodger in our first book, Middle Game. They have Melanie created to be the queen of winter, and her sister is supposed to be the queen of summer, and they're supposed to be created in a way so that they perfectly mesh with one another. However, Harry is also up for the crown for summer, and Melanie happens to love Harry. So it is an interesting dynamic and an interesting book. I really, really enjoyed it when I read it, and I was incredibly excited. Like, you should have seen me when I was listening to the book and driving home, because when Roger and Dodger made an appearance, I was grinning ear to ear. I was very excited about this. So I am reading this again just so that I can catch all of the little details, especially reading it right after Middle Game is my plan, and I'm reading it with my eyes predominantly this time. Sorry about the bird. With that being said, the next books that I will be reading is a reread of Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker. If you don't know about this, this is the middle grade series or children's series that is mentioned throughout the Middle Game book as well as the Seasonal Fears book, and it discusses, it essentially is a children's book that also gives alchemical properties and how to reach the impossible road through these alchemical properties. I didn't know if I was ever going to buy these books, and then when I made the decision to start defacing, I ended up purchasing them. I have the audiobook for Over the Woodward Wall, or no, I listened to it on Scribd. I don't even know the audiobook. I read it once and I was like, this was fine. It's not as good as Middle Game, whatever. But I think now that I have I'm much more invested in the details of this story rather than just the overall concept of the story, that I think this reread will be really interesting. The gist of this story, if you just want to read just the story: Avery is an exceptional child. Everything he does is precise, from the way he washes his face in the morning to the way he completes his homework, without complaint, without fuss, without prompt. Zib is also an exceptional child, because all children are in their own way. But where everything Avery does and is can be measured, nothing Zib does can possibly be predicted, except for the fact that she can always be relied upon to be unpredictable. They live on the same street. They live in different worlds. On an unplanned detour from home to school one morning, Avery and Zib find themselves climbing over a stone wall in the Up and Under, an impossible land filled with mystery, adventure, and the strange creatures, and they must find themselves and each other if they are to also find their way out and back to their own lives. So this is this, and then the sequel to this one, which is the one that is mentioned in Seasonal Fears, is Along the Saltwise Sea, which I have not read this one yet. I will say the covers for these are absolutely amazing. I also like that they're the inside is actually color matched. So this one's blue, the woodward wall is red. I'm interested to see what color the third book is. I don't remember the name of it. The cover is absolutely gorgeous, and I wonder what color it is underneath. This book is again, I think about Avery and Zib. Be sure to explore the myriad wonders that can be found along the Saltwise Sea. After climbing over the woodward wall and making their way across the forest, Avery and Zib found themselves acquiring some extraordinary friends in their journey through the up and under. After staying the night, uninvited, at a pirate queen's cottage in the woods, the companions find themselves accountable to its owner and reluctantly agree to work off their debt as her ship sets sail, bound for lands unknown. But the queen and her crew are not the only ones on board, and the monsters at sea aren't all underwater. Their friends will need to navigate the stormy seas of obligation and honor on their continuing journey along the improbable road. It would help if I could read sometimes. So I believe that this came out before Seasonal Fears, which is interesting because it's mentioned within Seasonal Fears. I also remember when I first read Over the Woodward Wall and was talking about reading it with Middle Game, and someone was like, do you know those are the same authors? And I was like, no. And that was before I realized that Seanan McGuire writes under several different names. But I want to go ahead and pre-order the third book, but I don't know if there's more books in the Middle Game series. I would imagine so. Anyway, but I'm excited about it. Also, these are the matte covers, in case you guys wondered, so they're super soft. I don't often have physical books, so I get to talk about that. Then we have my other books, which is books that don't fall into either the ARCs, art recommendations, or the Queer Book Crew pick, or my series. So that's what all of these books are. They're kind of just like, etc. at this point. First on the list, we have All Eyes on Us by Kit Frick. I have had this book on my want to read list for a long time. Audible has it for free if you are an Audible Plus member, or at least in the US. I don't know about elsewhere. Art said it wasn't very good. I don't have very high hopes, but it was compared to, I believe, Gossip Girl and Pretty Little Liars. Those are books I really, really enjoyed, but they're horrible books, so I have very low expectations. Regardless, it is a thriller with someone texting each other's secrets, which is very Pretty Little Liars. What we have here is the daughter of small town social climbers. Amanda Kelly is deeply invested in her boyfriend, real estate heir. What is a real estate heir? Carter Shaw. He's kind, ambitious, the town golden boy, but he's far from perfect, because behind Amanda's back, Carter is also dating Rosalie. Rosalie Bell is fighting to remain true to herself and her girlfriend while concealing her identity from her Christian fundamentalist parents. After years spent in and out of conversion quote-unquote therapy, her own safety is her top priority, but maintaining a fake straight relationship is killing her from the inside. When an anonymous texter ropes Amanda and Rosalie into a bid to take Carter down, the girls become collateral damage and unlikely allies in a fight to unmask their stalker before Private uproots their lives. So I'm just like confused about who Carter is. So Carter's dating both of these girls in this small town, and nobody seems to be, you know, like, we're surprised that people know? I don't know. That seems unrealistic, having grown up in a small town. Who am I to say anything, though? I haven't read it yet. Next, we have She Gets the Girl by Rachel Lippincott. Alex Blackwood is a little bit headstrong with a dash of chaos and a whole lot of flirt. She knows how to get the girl. Keeping her, on the other hand, not too much. Molly Parker has everything in her life totally in control, except for her complete awkwardness with just about anyone besides her mom. She knows she's in love with the impossible cool Cora Myers. She just hasn't talked to her yet. Alex and Molly don't belong on the same planet, let alone the same college campus, but when Alex, fresh off of a bad but hopefully not permanent breakup, discovers Molly's hidden crush as their paths cross the night before classes start, they realize they might have a common interest after all, because maybe if Alex volunteers to help Molly learn how to get her dream girl to fall for her, she can prove to her ex that she's not just a selfish flirt, that she's ready for an actual commitment. And while Alex is the last person Molly would ever think she could trust, she can't deny Alex knows what she's doing with girls, unlike her. As the two embark on their 5-step plan to get the girls to fall for them, though, they begin to wonder if maybe they're the ones falling for each other. Because of course they are, it's a romance book. Next, I don't have any extra thoughts on that one, sorry. Next we have The Dangers of Smoking in Bed by Mariana Enriquez. This is a horror anthology all written by the same, or short story collection, all written by the same author. Mariana Enriquez has been critically lauded for her unconventional and socio-political stories of the macabre Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Populated by unruly teenagers, crooked witches, homeless ghosts, and hungry women, they walk the uneasy line between urban realism and horror. The stories in her next collection are as terrifying as they are socially conscious and press into the unspoken. A woman is sexually obsessed with the human heart, a lost, rotting baby crawls out of a backyard and into a bedroom, a pair of teenage girls can't let go of their idol, an entire neighborhood is cursed to death by a question of morality they fail to answer incorrectly. Written against the backdrop of contemporary Argentina and with resounding tenderness towards those in pain, fear, and in limbo, this new collection from one of Argentina's most exciting writers finds Enriquez at her most sophisticated and most chilling. I don't normally include that little bit about the author, but I just thought it was interesting, so it just seems really interesting. Art had got it from a library for, I think, work or something. There was a reason that she needed to check it out, and it sounded really interesting to me, so I will be reading it also. Then we have Kate in Waiting. This has been on my library TBR for like 2 years. I just haven't gotten around to reading it. It was for a long time like a really long hold, and it wasn't something that was high priority for me, so I just never checked it out or put it on hold. Now it hasn't been on like a hold in a long time, but I just haven't gotten to it, and I am finally doing that. This is by Becky Albertalli. Contrary to popular belief, best friends Kate Garfield and Anderson Walker are not codependent. Carpooling to and from theater rehearsals, environmentally sound and efficient. Consulting each other on every single life decision, basic good judgment. Pining for the same guys from afar, shared crushes are more fun anyway. But when Kate and Andy's long-distance crush shows up at their school, everything goes off script. Matt Olson is talented and sweet, and Kate likes him. She really likes him. And the problem? So does Anderson. Turns out, communal crushes aren't so fun when the real feelings are involved. This one might even bring the curtains down on Kate and Anderson's friendship. It doesn't have super high reviews, but when it originally came out, there was also a lot of backlash and drama, so I don't necessarily trust the actual reviews on Goodreads for this one. I'm not sure how many of them are due to the actual story or due to that conflict. The conflict had to do with having hashtag own voices for things, because it inherently asks for authors to come out of the closet unnecessarily or when they're not prepared to, by requiring them to be openly out in order to talk about queer stories. So I don't know why I remember all of that too. That's kind of shocking. I have horrible memory. So that's partially, I think, why some of the ratings are what they are. So I am going to kind of go into this blind. I tried not to read the reviews too in depth for that reason. Next we have The 10th Girl by Sarah Faring. This has horrible reviews and I am fully prepared to hate every second of it, but just like Kate in Waiting, this has been on my library TBR for a couple of years now. I keep not taking it off and I'm not super sure why, because every time I go to put it on like a TBR to film, I look at it and I go, oh, this is horrible reviews, and then don't put it on the list, but I don't take it off the library TBR, so I figured I should just go ahead and read it and get it off, right? So the problem, I think, is that the author is a white woman who uses terminology that's incorrect, and if she had just done her research, we wouldn't have that problem, but I don't know, so we'll see. Simmering in Patagonian myth, The 10th Girl is a gothic psychological thriller with a haunting twist. At the very southern tip of South America looms an isolated finishing school. Legend has it that the land will curse those who settle there, but for Mavi, a bold Buenos Aires native fleeing the military regime that took her mother, it offers an escape to a new life as a young teacher to Argentina's elite girls. Mavi tries to embrace the strangeness of the imposing house, despite warnings not to roam at night, threats from an enigmatic young man, and rumors of the mysterious others. But one of Mavi's 10 students is missing, and when students and teachers alike begin to behave as if possessed and the forces haunting this unholy cliff will no longer be ignored. One of these spirits holds a secret that could unravel Mavi's existence. In order to survive, she must solve a cosmic mystery and then fight for her life. It sounds interesting, but it's probably going to be bad. So I'm setting that expectation for myself now. Next we have Made by Stephanie Land. I had watched a little bit of the Netflix series on this and it was really, really interesting, at points a little bit triggering for me just because of my own history with domestic abuse, but I stopped watching the show so that I could read the memoir first. This is a non-fiction autobiographical memoir. It is about Stephanie Land, who at age 28 had plans of breaking free from the roots of her hometown of the Pacific Northwest to chase her dreams of attending a university and becoming a writer. It was all of those dreams were cut short when a summer fling turned into an unexpected pregnancy. She turned to housekeeping to make ends meet, and with a tenacious grip on her dream to provide her daughter the very best life possible, Stephanie worked days and took classes online to earn a college degree and began to write relentlessly. Made explores the underbelly of the upper middle class and the reality of what it's like to be in service to them. I'd become a nameless ghost, Stephanie writes about her relationship with her clients, many of whom do not know her from another cleaner, but who she learns plenty about. As she begins to discover more about her clients' lives, their sadness and love, too, she begins to find hope in her own path. I don't appreciate, like, I don't know if the domestic abuse part of the story is like super relevant to this memoir, but I don't super appreciate that there isn't really any warning in that summary about the domestic abuse aspect. So I'll be interested to see how much of that like aligns with the actual Netflix show, but we'll see, right? Then we have The City Beautiful by Aidan Polidoros. I have heard some really good things about this book, and it was a gift from my friend Caitlin. Would you sacrifice your soul to stop a killer? No, personally, I would not, thank you. This is a signed edition, which is very cool. Chicago, 1893. For Alter Rosen, this is the land of opportunity. Despite the unbearable summer heat, his threadbare clothes, and his constantly empty stomach, Alter still has dreams of the day he'll have enough money to bring his mothers and sisters to America, freeing them from the oppression they face in his native Romania. But when Alter's best friend Yakov becomes the latest victim in a long line of murdered Jewish boys, his dream begins to slip away. While the rest of the city is busy celebrating the World's Fair, Alter is now living a nightmare, possessed by Yakov's Dybbuk. He is plunged into a world of corruption and deceit and thrown back into the arms of a dangerous boy from his past, a boy who means more to Alter than anyone knows. Now, with only days to spare until the Dybbuk takes over Alter's body completely, the two boys must race to track down the killer before the killer claims them next. I like Jewish lore about Dybbuks. I think that it's really interesting, and this book is just really beautiful, and I'm excited to see how the story goes. Then we have Princess Ever After by Katie O'Neill, I believe. Katie O'Neill? Yeah, she's the one who wrote the Tea Dragon Society. This is about a heroic Princess Amira who rescues the kind-hearted Princess Sadie from her tower prison, and neither one of them expects to find a true friend in the bargain, yet as they adventure across the kingdom they discover that they bring out the very best in the other person. They'll need to join forces and use all the know-how, kindness, and bravery they have in order to defeat their greatest foe yet, a jealous sorceress with a dire grudge against Sadie. It just is very cute. I love Katie O'Neill's art, and I'm just very excited about this one. It's very much the aesthetic and stuff that I like to read, so we'll see, and it's a short little graphic novel, so. Next, we have the advanced reader copies that I will be reading from NetGalley. A lot of these are coming out, or are already out by the time this video comes out. I believe they will. One of them will already be out, and then a couple of them will be coming out later this month. I'm trying to time things more appropriately so that the arcs that I'm talking about come out in the month that I am talking about them, so we'll see if that continues. I have a few that don't come out for a couple of months. I mean that for the next TBRs. Anyway, I digress. First, I have the Book of Azrael by Amber Nicole. 1,000 years ago, Diana gave up her life in the deserts of Eoria to save her dying sister. She called upon anyone who could listen, not expecting a monster far worse than any nightmare to answer. Now, she does what Caden asks, even if that means securing an ancient relic from the very creatures that hunt her. In the old world, his name was Samkiel. In the new world, it's Liam, but one title remains true throughout his time. He is the World Ender, a myth to his enemies, a savior and king to those loyal to him. After the Gods' War, he locked himself away, hiding from the world. He denied his crown and responsibilities, leaving the very ones who needed him the most to deal with the fallout of the death of their homeworld. Now, an attack on those he holds dear sends him back to the one realm he never wished to visit again, and into the sights of an enemy he thought he imprisoned eons ago. Now, enemies older than time must put aside their differences and work together in hopes of saving both their world and every realm in between. It's a little bit interesting I don't see how those two pieces go together, so we'll see. It's also a very long book from what I was seeing. It's like 800 pages or something. That could just be the Kindle and it could be wrong, but that's what it said, and I was like, wow, that's long, what have I done? Because if y'all know me, y'all know I don't read very long books, so we'll see what happens here. Next, we have Other Terrors, an inclusive anthology. This is written obviously by various authors. This is a horror anthology that uses different cultures and has authors of different cultures and ethnicities and sexual preferences, etc. Diverse and inclusive identities, which is what this anthology is more or less about. It doesn't really give, so sometimes anthologies give like a brief summary of each story. This doesn't really do that, so I don't have a whole lot to go off of other than I like horror. I read a lot of horror last month and I'm interested to see where this goes. Next, we have Such a Good Mother by Helen Monks Takar. Rose O'Connell is barely surviving. Her relationship with her husband is on the rocks, and their son isn't fitting in at his new school, the prestigious Wolf Academy. Their tiny flat in a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood, the very place Rose grew up as the daughter of an infamous local con artist, can barely contain her family. Rose can't catch a professional break either, trapped in the same junior bank teller role for years. Life as the only mom in a name-tag uniform at the Wolf's shiny school gates isn't easy. Not so for those in the elite and secretive circle, a tight-knit group of mothers who rule the school, led by the charismatic and glamorous Amala Carr. In exchange for supporting the Wolf's relentless fundraising and public image drives, the women enjoy lucrative business opportunities, special privileges for their children, and the admiration of the entire community. After the mysterious death of one of the circle members, Rose dares to hope that filling the vacancy could set her family up for success. And when Amala makes the shocking decision to invite Rose into the clique, her fortunes, self-esteem, and status soar. But the deeper Rose gets into the circle, the darker the secrets lurking within every perfect Instagrammable life. Far from being a dream come true, being inside the circle could prove Rose's worst nightmare. This sounds a lot like the Hunting Wives, which, if you recall, I fucking hated. So let's hope this isn't like that, because I fucking hated that book. So, because if so, I'm gonna have a whole lot to say. But that is it. I will include down below, in the description box down below, the book pick for the Queer Book Crew, because it hasn't been decided yet. It is the 23rd of June, so it hasn't been decided just yet and won't be by the time I edit this video. So I am going to go ahead and say that I will put it in the description box down below. I don't have any art recommendations this month because I haven't been reading very much this month, nor have I been talking a whole lot to my friends because of my new job. So if this TBR seems a little bit short for me, that is why. I really am trying to take my time with reading, and I'm enjoying reading with my eyes a lot more right now. So we'll see what happens with all of this. I keep saying we'll see, but I don't know why. I'm sorry that I keep reusing the same phrase. But that's it. That is my TBR for the month. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Or if you guys are reading any of these this month along with me, let me know. If you haven't read any of these before and are interested in them, let's talk about it. Or if you read them and hated them, let me know. Especially the ones that I think are going to be bad. I really want to know why they're bad, and if y'all also think they're bad, or whatever happens with that. If you didn't enjoy this video, let me know in the comments down below how I can make it better for you. I post every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time every single week, but still turn that notification bell on if you want to. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. I will see you guys again on Thursday. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water. That's it. Okay, thanks, bye.